British history than, you know, just dead white men,
Mm.
if we're being honest. So there's that. But like in secondary school, we did like, you know, the civil rights movements, we did slavery, they made us watch Roots and class. But I was really lucky that in year 10 and year 11, I picked GCSE history as one of my subjects. My history teacher was a very much anti-racist, pro-black man. And y'all, if anyone from St. Peter's is here, shout out to Mr. Mottram. Love that guy. And as much as like, you know, the curriculum he was given to teach was very white, he always found a way to like explain, you know, during this time, obviously we did like, you know, 1920s boom in America, 1930s Great Depression, like, you know, that era. He always found a way to like explain that, you know, this is what women were going through and this is what black people were going through
Mm.
at that time because they are part of, you know, the citizens of that country. So I think that's as much as we really got. But in terms of like, you know, what was actively happening in the country we were going to school in, we didn't really get anything, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So but
I
yeah, and
actually
continue.
I saw a thread. Oh, here it is. About children's books that discuss racism, and I don't know whether it was worth mentioning a few of them now.
Hmm.
In case anyone is watching who has a younger relative who you think for that their next birthday, maybe this book as a gift would be something that I would consider giving to help them learn at a young age. But so
Yeah.
the list is Malcolm Little.
Hmm.
There's a book called Let It Shine: Stories of Black Women Freedom Fighters. A book called Something Happened in Our Town. This one is called My Hair is a Garden. Um,
Ooh, that sounds good.
and Separate is Never Equal.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that helps just to have some actual like recommendations there that you could pass on if
Yeah,
you
they
ever need
sound
to.
good. Sorry, I'm just refilling.
That was like
Drinking
ASMR.
water, yo.
I
I
enjoyed
know
that. Yes.
it's quality content. Um, 11 more questions. Y'all, I ain't even gone through the other ones. Okay, let's try and like tackle a few like quickly. So, okay, I've answered that. Small guys, I've got bad eyesight. I don't know if that matters. Ooh, um, I'm not one to just say cancel friends, if that makes sense. But I think like have a conversation with her and really think, like really ask her and try and understand where, not try and understand where she's coming from, but listen to her explanation as to why she's silent. Because maybe she might be of a, I don't want to, you know, share trauma. I don't want to make it seem ingenuine. And maybe she's doing a lot of reading on her own. And maybe she's like educating herself privately. And like, you know, once she's explained that to you, you know, you can't really falter. Because like for me, I don't, I'm not here for the social media. I'm not here for all the posts. It's really, what are you like offline? Does that make sense? Like, what is your
Yeah.
politics and what are your views when there's no Wi-Fi? So, if she's really actively doing a lot behind the scenes, then that's good. If not, then it's really up to you to make that decision. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, cut her off. But like, you know, listen to her, listen to what she has to say. If she's doing the work, she's doing the work. If she's not, ask her, why isn't she? And, you know, if she's uncomfortable, like if it's because she's uncomfortable, she doesn't understand these things, it's not up to you to educate her. That's when
Mm.
you have the choice to say, well, go and do so, or sit her down and be like, okay, cool. Let's dismantle this thing. Let's talk. What makes you uncomfortable? And let's actually explore this discomfort and help you learn.
Mm.
That's what I think. But
I
what
guess
about you?
a way into that conversation might just be like, oh, have you seen everything that's been going on in the news? And so you sort of open up the discussion, but you let them take it at first before lecturing them on all of the things that you've read and all of the things that you have done.
Yeah.
Listen to how they're receiving it, because they might surprise you and say, oh yeah, I donated to this cause and I've signed all the petitions, and maybe they didn't want their activism to be an Instagram post.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think allowing them to talk about it first, and that's kind of how
Hmm.
you can gauge where to go next with it. But I think what you said is absolutely perfect. Like you can recommend things and suggest things and encourage them, but there will be a
Hmm.
point where someone doesn't want to learn, someone doesn't want to be better. And I think that's when you have to consider
Hmm.
their intentions and who they are as a person and as a friend.
Yeah. Next question. Okay, we've kind of. Oh, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter becoming politically aligned?
Do you know what I hate is when people say it's like lefties, like these, or anything like that, because it's like, what? You know,
This is not a right wing, left wing thing. This is
no,
a human rights thing. And
yeah,
I feel like, any side, yeah, I get your point. It is jarring.
that's something that I find frustrating that they even should be considered to come hand in hand. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think at what point are human lives and human rights political?
Yeah.
And and also consider who is making them political. Like, because I would suggest that certain leaders have made this political, not the people on the streets, not the people who are
Period.
dying. You know, they weren't making it political. The people who threatened their own countrymen, the people who called them
Mm,
thugs, made it political.
literally. Yep. And that's on
Um,
period. That's on period.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
very much so. I do think like this is definitely not like it can't be a politics thing because there's black Republicans, there's black conservatives. Like
yeah,
this is not a thing of like, oh, what is my political viewpoint? It's literally just a thing of I am seeing that people are not being treated right and I've decided to speak up against it. So I don't think this is elect me because this is what I am, oh, my re-election is coming up. Who best to appease in this moment? Like it's definitely it's above politics at this point. So yeah, the whole ideology that oh yeah, this is a leftist movement. I'm so sorry. I think if you think that you really need to do some internal work here because this ain't it.
yeah.
This just ain't it.
To conclude, this is
Um,
not it.
conclusion of my argument. That's how I'm going to end my next essay. Thank you so much for reading the above, but this ain't it. Um, Oh, okay. Okay, cool. This is a good one. How do we feel about the looting? Tough one.
Yeah. I think that the looting is being highlighted by certain media outlets, and I think you always have to consider, why have the media that I'm consuming or that people are consuming
Yeah.
chosen to represent something that's going on in the world in this specific way, and why have they chosen to highlight this action, and how do they think it will make me, the reader, view the
Hmm.
people who are doing those things? Because there's intent behind everything. If
Yeah.
you were to write an article, you would pick from a certain pool of videos. Nothing is not biased in a certain way. So
Yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts?
For me, it's a tough one because I understand the frustration. Like I understand that this is genuinely a thing of we've spoken, we've done the peaceful stuff, we've done the addressing things like in the right manner, we've gone through the right channels, we haven't been heard, and out of anger, out of
Mm,
frustration, we're now looking for the best way to get your attention. I do get that. I do think like some of the looting, like let's be honest, it's violence shouldn't be done. And then also, who's really behind the looting? Like, I've seen some videos where,
definitely.
it's been, white people making things worse so that they can say this is violent. And then I was spending the early hours of this morning watching one of my faves now. I've decided to stand Anderson Cooper. Hopefully he doesn't do anything that makes me have to cancel him later. But he was basically just saying at the end of the day, the places that are being looted will be fine. The
Yeah,
lives that have been taken can't come back. So we shouldn't focus on, how are people crying out or how are people doing this, but it's very much like let's listen to what they actually have to say, address that, and maybe then the looting would stop. So
mm,
I do think it's a tough one because some of them, like some of the videos I'm seeing, I'm just like, you're looting in your own community, you're, destroying businesses that are very much a part of your community. Does that make sense? No. However, I get the frustration. And I think for me, I only have family in the States. I don't live there. So I can't even put myself in the shoes of where, this is happening literally like every other day. So I think it's a tough one. And really and truly, yeah, the media, some channels have their agenda, and it shows very clearly in the
Definitely.
what they want to put up in, the titles and like the words they put on the screen. And yeah, I don't think the police are helping the situation as well, to be honest, because I've
Mm.
seen videos where black people peacefully protesting are being arrested, are being dragged, are like being tear gassed and shot at. But then white people who are running out of stores stealing stuff are being asked, "Oh, ma'am, can you kindly?" And it's just like this ain't it
Yeah.
again.
I've just seen a question that said, what's your opinion on Katie Hopkins' tweets about, it doesn't even matter what the tweets were. I think an important thing to consider here when we think about people like Katie Hopkins is that her literal job is being controversial. Her
Yeah,
brand is being controversial. And as a kind of behind the scenes thing about like YouTube, about journalism, about celebrity culture, about influencers, is that everyone is aware of what their personal brand is and what their audience
yeah,
are looking for. And for people like Katie Hopkins, her audience and what makes her name big and what makes her brand is that she is controversial. And I think that that governs the way that she decides what her opinions are on things.
very
So
much so.
it's like, how can I upset people? How can I go against what people who want equality, people who um, fight for other people's freedom, how can I upset those people? And
Yeah.
how can I make more money from it? How can I make my name bigger? So I try to ignore Katie Hopkins and people of that kind of breed because they
Yeah,
are a separate breed entirely.
very much so.
Um,
I've muted her. I think I blocked her on Twitter. I've muted her like everything else. I've also muted like her name so that her stuff doesn't come on
yeah,
my TL. And I think everyone should just do the same because fundamentally, as Jack said, um, e- people in this industry, in the entertainment culture, know their brand. Katie, I'm saying first name, but anyway, our good sis, is very aware that if she tweeted, "Good morning, guys. Hope everyone has a lovely day." She's not collecting coins. She's not relevant.
mm-hmm.
She's not,
There's no
in
headline there.
tomorrow's papers. There's not. However, she knows that, oh, people, everyone wants this. This is what people are fighting for. Let me, tweet something that, will get people's feathers a bit ruffled. That's how she stays relevant. And the thing is, some of you guys, I'm not attacking anyone, by the way, but engaging with her tweets gets her what she wants. You're better off if you see it, ignore it, meet her, because if there's no one to make angry because there's no audience, she would be very much irrelevant. And I think it's just the same thing for like the whole bunch of that side of Twitter. And we know who we're
Yeah.
talking about. So yeah, that's mine on that really.
I think if your job and what pays the bills is you having controversial views, then I don't really trust your opinion necessarily
Um,
as like, a vanguard of truth.
you have absolutely nothing to say, but yeah.
Yeah.
One of the questions on the tag is, oh, okay. Opinions slash advice on going to protest during a pandemic.
We're in a tricky situation. Like 2020 has season finale vibes,
There's just been too
um,
much going on at once.
yeah. I think it's a tough one. It's a horrible one to have to negotiate. It's unprecedented. It isn't
Yeah.
ideal. It's not normal. No one wants to have to be protesting in the first place.
Hmm.
Um, but what people are doing at the moment is absolutely incredible and so important. And, the Stonewall, the suffragettes got their point across by protesting and rioting in the ways that they did. So I do
Yeah.
think that it is important.
Hmm.
The pandemic adds this whole crazy dimension to it that, I mean, my phone battery sign just came up. I don't know. There is nowhere
I
else.
guess as much.
There's
Yeah,
nowhere
I
else. I
think
don't
for
know what you
me,
think.
it's just there's no answer. I think for me, if you're really like if you feel led to protest, I think you have to take like the most drastic measures possible. Your gloves, your masks. Make sure you are not at risk, and you also don't have anyone at home at risk. So,
Mm.
when you come back straight into the shower, make sure you really disinfect anything that needs to be disinfected. But however, if you're at risk, I do think there's so much you can do, not having to be on the streets, if that makes sense. So I don't think people who, for example, don't want to feel, um, people who don't want to feel bad for not protesting shouldn't feel bad. Like it's perfectly fine. And also, I know some of my friends were just like, my parents are not gonna let you don't. So a lot of things aren't making sense
It's
here.
not adding up.
Yeah, it's not like so. Yeah, that's my take on it. I just think that the Bible can easily be misquoted by anyone, really. So it's very much like let's do our research, let's pay attention, let's read things with historical context as well, and that's my take on that.
I think it's also pretty key to think, when has he held the Bible up before? What how is he appropriating it, and for what reason, and what is it serving? What is that? Everything that people in positions like that do is a choice.
Yes.
Every word in a tweet, every thing that you hold up,
Hmm.
you actively chose to do that, and there's a reason behind it, and there's a message you wanted to put across. So what is that, and
Hmm.
is that consistent with how you normally justify actions? Because I would suggest probably not in this
Absolutely not.
case.
Yeah, it was a photo op. Let's call it spade a spade. Like it was a photo shoot. And one thing I feel like a lot of people sometimes forget, Trump isn't necessarily the most traditional or orthodox politician. Like he was very much like a businessman, very much like a controversial figure in that industry, and he's aware of how social media works and